Holy cow. Damon, how are you, dude? What's happening, man?
I'm doing great, Kurt. Ready to start an awesome week.
Man, holy cow. Can you believe, like, dude, like I'm starstruck right now. Like,
Yes.
I'm a little fluttered, right? Is that a word? Is that even a word? I don't know. I just made that up. So
It is
Jake
today.
Paul, the Manufacturing Millennial, how are you, dude?
I'm doing good, guys. It's great to be back on again. Nothing like kicking off the week with some energy, some good conversations, and some good talks along the way.
Dude, we got a ton to cover, and I know like you're the busiest guy in manufacturing, and I don't take that lightly. So we need to be fast and furious today. So, Jake, Manufacturing Millennial, first off, happy Monday to everybody, whether you're catching us live, catching us on replay. Maybe it's even a Tuesday or Wednesday to you by the time you catch this, but happy day to you. We've got Jake Hall, Manufacturing Millennial. As a matter of fact, Jake, if I'm not mistaken, on LinkedIn, I said there's like 1,400 Jake Halls, but when you just Google Jake Hall, like you come up, like you're the only one that comes up. Like, oh, by the way,
That's
Jake Hall,
awesome.
then there's 1,400 other Jake
the
Halls.
1,399 others.
You know, once in a while, I Google search myself one time. I guess there's this famous actor like over in Australia or like something like that who's like an actual like Hollywood actor who's Jake Hall.
Yeah.
You know, he always pulls up number one. And then I'm typically like, 3 or 4 in the typical. But if you search Manufacturing Millennial, then it's always, on the top. Top.
That is always all right. So, guys, follow Jake on LinkedIn. Do yourself a favor. Phenomenal content. Jake, it's been 3.5 years, dude, since you've been on the show. You're a repeat offender. You need to be a better judge of character coming out with us two old guys. But in the past 3.5 years, man, just a few minor changes in your life, right? Just a couple minor changes, right?
Yeah. No, it's been good. Yeah. Cause when we talked last time, the Manufacturing Millennial was very much still a trying to figure out what it's going to be type thing. It was one of those things where the idea came around in the pandemic, it would have been, spring of 2022. So really, people are still kind of worrisome coming out of the pandemic. Things aren't back to normal yet. I'm still working full-time at FZATS during that acquisition phase and business development. And then I'm also entertaining this idea of what can the Manufacturing Millennial be? Can it be a full-time thing for me? And fast forward a few years and here we are.
And when you came on, this is absolutely fascinating. Like you said, you had a full-time gig and COVID was still absolutely a thing, and you came on, you're like, I'm catching us, like the first show, it's starting this week, conferences, and like, it's like, what was the term? Like COVID, like there'd be like these outbursts again. I can't remember the right, like it was, then it pulled back, then it like, So you decide you throw up a shingle. And so like now you are full-fledged entrepreneur. You are Jake Incorporated, Manufacturing Millennial, right? I mean, like that happened in 23, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I was actually looking about that. So 2021. Yeah. Cause I was looking back 2020, there was no shows. I'm looking at 2021. There was a couple in the fall of 2021. So I'm looking back here. There was AMRL in Memphis, Tennessee in October. And then there was the Assembly Show in Chicago in October. But I'm looking back before that. There was nothing. January, February, March, April. Obviously, there was nothing in 2020. And so we would have started talking middle of February, and about a month later would have been the first really big show kickoff, which would have been Modex in Atlanta.
Yeah.
And that's when all the shows got kicked off, because then there was IME West or MD&M West now in California. That was typically like a February show, but then they actually moved that till April because of the whole thing. Yeah, so we would have been talking right when things were slowly starting to pick back up. We were slowly starting to go see people in person again, and everyone was kind of, all the trade shows and conferences were out there testing the water to figure out, are we ready for in-person events again?
Right. Isn't that just,
yeah,
it seems like another lifetime ago. Like part of me feels like you came out, you're like, man, it feels like yesterday. Then part of me feels like it was like 20 years ago, and it's just such a wild time. Now, how many events are you doing for the calendar of 2025?
So for 2025, I pull it up right now on my glorified business Excel sheet. So let's see, 375. I'll hit in person. I'll hit about 45 to 50 events, travel events this year and in person.
In person, dude, that
Yeah.
is insane. That's
Yeah, so-
crazy.
And-
Hey, I'm going to
and-
jump on. Let me jump on your website real quick because I've got some. Let's just. I guess I'm jumping ahead. Let's dive into some of the events that you're actually. Where can people catch you? Speaking live coming up.
Yeah. I mean, so I guess we'll hit the next 30 days. So this week we're heading to Atlanta for SPS. That's going to be a great event. Highlighting the motions and drives industry. SPS is a really big trade show over in Europe. They're bringing it to the U.S. to get some more, to get some more insight and to educate companies more on what's happening in the industry. Then the also this week is happening is the IBIE, the International Baking Industry Exposition. That's happening in Vegas this week. I'm not going to that one, but that's one that's happening. Then Saturday is the Confluence Festival happening in Michigan. That's the big public get together, talk about robotics and automation event. That's on Friday, Saturday. Then next week I'm off to possibly Seattle for the Humanoid Robot Forum that's put on by A3. And then also happening that week is the Fathom Milwaukee show, which is happening in Milwaukee on Wednesday. Then the following week, on Sunday, I'm heading to PAC Expo in Las Vegas. So I'm heading out to that one, and then heading to PAC on Sunday through Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, I'm heading to Scranton, Pennsylvania, Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, just north of Scranton, where the office whole thing.
Yeah.
Heading out there to do a keynote and speak for Manufacturing Day. And then the week after that, when we get back, is quite a few shows that are happening. There's the Battery Show that's happening in Detroit. And then there's the Mobile Platform Summit that's happening in Pittsburgh. So Pittsburgh, Monday, Tuesday is Mobile Robot Summit put on by SICK and the Pittsburgh Robotics Group in Pittsburgh. And then on Wednesday, I head to Detroit for the Battery Show. And then the week after that is Robo Business, which is happening in Anaheim. And then there's also Assembly and a few other stuff that's happening. It's busy. It's busy.
'Tis the season, man. So, all right. So if you're just joining us here today, first off, thank you. Happy Monday. Damon, I'm going to grab a couple of comments here, but I want to encourage people here. So here's Jake, and Jake has a phenomenal, incredible story for our manufacturers out there that are really looking to step up their game. Now, I know if you're just starting out, it gets a little daunting. You're like, man, how am I going to catch up to Jake here? But Jake, you're over 100,000 followers. You certainly, nobody starts there, right? There's a journey, there's a story behind you really kind of going this direction. I want to dive into that real quick. Let's get a couple comments here. Hey, we've got our dear friend. Let me stop sharing. We've got Michael Perry's in the house. Michael, as a matter of fact, I'm emailing you today, dude. So, Damon, we're going to have Michael on the show sometime. He's a phenomenal, incredible manufacturer right outside of Chicago. And we've got our dear friend, Diane. So, Diane was a guest on the show Friday, dropping
nice.
Just total masterclass. She is phenomenal. What a gift. What a blessing. Diane, thank you. Go Eagles to our friend Diane. She had a big win yesterday. So, Jake, let's dive in. So, again, you were on the show 3 years ago. 22 tons have changed in your life in that time. Now, I did not ask you this question. I'm going to ask you this question now. You sitting down? You ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Dude, you're the manufacturing millennial. I don't know if there's a bigger advocate in the United States for manufacturing. When you were a little guy growing up, who was your hero? Who did you look up to? Who created this manufacturing maverick that you are? Who was your hero growing up?
I'll put three out there. I loved watching Adam Savage on Mythbusters because for me, it was one of those things where you made science fun, engaging. That was a big thing for me. I think another one would be Mike Rowe with Dirty Jobs. Was another one that I enjoyed watching because I felt he showed that people, regardless of what position you're in, what job you do, the respectable positions that make change and can impact people. And then the third, I would say, in terms of influence and looked up to it, my dad. Man, my dad taught me that if you want something in life, you work for it. You don't expect to give it. There's no handouts in life. And there's handouts in life, but it's ones that you don't want. And it's I would say, between those three right there, that that really pushed me into this idea of advocacy, content, storytelling, engagement with people, trying to have people understand in a way that connects with them on why what they do matters. That would be those would be my takeaways.
Those are 3 good ones. Damon, I know Mike Rowe, you share Mike Rowe with Jake, right?
Yep.
He's
all right, and Dad's name, please.
My dad, Dan Hall.
Dan Hall. All right.
Dan Hall.
Well, thank God you're not Jake Hall Jr. because, Eddie Saunders Jr. came on the show one time. And I go, Eddie, who's your hero? And he goes, oh, my dad's my hero. And I go, Eddie, what's your dad's name? Eddie Saunders Jr. What's your dad's name? Like, I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed, Jake, so
awesome. That's good.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, wait, Eddie Saunders, maybe senior might go with junior, I guess. So anyway, all right. So Dan Hall. So big shout out to Dan. So now, dude, when you came out of college, Grand Valley, right? Where'd you go?
Grand Valley State University, in their engineering program.
Nice.
Engineer at heart. You started your career, if I'm not mistaken, in automation. Do I have that correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
So you go into automation, so I want to fast forward for our manufacturers that are, we're always striving. How do we help them stop being the best kept secret? If they're just starting out, how do we help the manufacturers with that digital transformation, right? Share a little bit about like your personal digital transformation. How did you go from like, hey, I'm an engineer from this great university. I come in, I'm going to be in automation. And now like, dude, you're just blowing it up, speaking at 50, all these events this year. Yeah. Share a little bit on your transformation.
I think for me, when I look back at what's changed the most about the industry, I think both professionals and companies look at collaboration is much more powerful than trying to separate yourself from competition. And that's happening now through trade shows. That's happening through conversations at conferences and events. That's happening through how people share through social media now, through video, through storytelling. I think a lot of times you look at the manufacturing space and you look back 15, 20 years ago, no one wanted a camera on their manufacturing floor because they thought they were the best kept secret.
Yeah.
And they thought what they were doing was extremely innovative, not realizing that there's probably 25 other companies within, 100 miles that are probably doing the exact same thing with the exact same processes. So for me, when I look at the biggest evolution and changes, it's people are no longer afraid to share their successes, to share their learning experiences and failures, because people realize that, in the world that we live in today, it's a global economy with global competition, with, a global community of integration where we're taking products and solutions that some are being manufactured in Europe, some are being manufactured over in the APAC region. Other parts are being made here right in the US. And so we're taking products and solutions from all over the world, we're integrating it together and putting it into a solution. And I think, if companies are out there, individuals are out there, are willing to share more on what they're doing and how they're learning, that's what pushing it forward. And that's what I do with LinkedIn. I'm out there to share stories, to advocate what companies are doing. Today I talked about, I was at FabTech last week in Chicago. Today I interviewed Visual Components when I was there, and I talked about a post highlighting with what I did for Graham on offline programming. So, they're out there, they're helping manufacturers be able to take the assets they have on the floor with their robots, program offline to improve productivity, to make it so the skill sets that are needed are not as high that you have to reach for. And it's one of those things, if I can go out there and I can tell a story on what a manufacturer is doing that's driving success, that's what people want to hear and what they want to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely love it. So, all right, as a matter of fact, we're going to go back to show and tell again. You guys ready? You ready? Here we go. We're going to go back to Jake's. All right. So first up now, Jake, are you a solopreneur? Is that a way to describe you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm running the day-to-day operations here at the Manufacturing Millennial in my office in my basement. And it's been a journey, and we're still rocking it.
So I want to speak to our manufacturing friends out there. Just, Jake is a solopreneur, and like, look at his content here. So when you look at his website, he's got this innate, like, dude, like, and Damon, I had the privilege of catching Jake live this past February at Austin, Texas, at the Industrial Marketing Summit, keynote speaker. If you guys ever get a chance to catch Jake live, I could not. I implore you to catch Jake live. Like Jake, I sat in the front row. I've been doing LinkedIn for, I don't know, 100 years or whatever. I used to do LinkedIn, workshops, training, all sorts of stuff. I'm sitting there like taking notes from your masterclass on LinkedIn. It was absolutely phenomenal. But take a look at Jake's. Please go to Manufacturing Millennial right here, his website. Just shamelessly steal his ideas on like how to apply it to your manufacturing, because it doesn't matter that Jake's speaking or that you're manufacturing a widget, right, Jake? I mean, what are your thoughts here?
So what was my talk here?
Like, what are your thoughts as far as like, give a little background on like how you like your website? Like, I'm just
I mean, for what I'm doing with the website, it's a couple things. One is, a lot of companies want to pull me in to go to associations or company events to talk about the industry, talk about the current state of the industry, share my experiences from a millennial who's grew up in manufacturing, who I would say faced hazing, who faced this idea, this mentality of, you put in your time, work with companies. In my experiences of what I felt scared a lot of millennials, my generation, from coming into manufacturing, from being a part of the industry, and what we could be doing differently to bring in automation, to bring in robotics, to drive manufacturing forward, and then understand why it's so important and why it matters to bring these upcoming generations to be a part of the industry. Up on there as well, I help companies tell their story. I help highlight the brands. I drive brand awareness around what companies, within the U.S. and want to come to the U.S. for manufacturing are doing. So I help with that. On there I have Rent a Robot as well. So I have robot dogs that will go to trade shows to drive attraction into people's booths. In fact, this week I just had 2 robots that left this house 35 minutes ago before we hopped on that are heading out, and then I have 3 more robots that are going to another event tomorrow, and then a few more that are going to another event on Saturday. So helping just making it relatable for companies to understand, how do you bring people into your booth, how do you create excitement in the industry, and guiding them along that path.
Right. Bring the fun, bring the energy, bring the hype. I just absolutely love it. And what, right here, you've got social proof. Look at all these who's who companies that you're dealing with. And then right here, clear and concise. We have a duty to bridge the generational gaps in manufacturing, ensure the industry thrives into the future. I mean, you're making it very concise. Like, hey, this, like, you're eating, drinking, breathing, sleeping.
Yep.
This is the message.
Man, I'm gonna have to bring you guys on like some sales associates for me or something like that. Book more events the way you're talking, man.
Well, I mean, what you're doing, Jake, is something that has been needed for probably decades, honestly, in the manufacturing industry. And I think that you're just highlighting that people in the industry are starting to become aware of it. I mean, earlier you were talking about the collaboration effect. I mean, hell, we can walk through 100 manufacturers, like you said, within 100 miles, and 20, 30, 40 of them are doing the same thing, all thinking how special they are. And really, everybody is facing the same challenges, using the same kind of technology. And there are some that are obviously different, but it's largely the same. And working together and niching down, as Kurt likes to say, and really figuring out what we're best at is a huge thing. And there's enough work for everyone to win.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of opportunity for everyone, and it's going to be like that for the next decade.
Yep.
Okay, so let's slide over. So Jake, you just mentioned a couple of posts that you put out, right? You guys see the screen right here?
Yep, got it.
All right, so Jake, I got a couple of posts here. Again, speak to like the manufacturer, pretend they're a client, or the manufacturer's like, hey, Jake, I'm not necessarily I'm not looking to get to 100,000, but boy, I'd really like to stop being the best kept secret. Start talking about like, we have an amazing, incredible team. We have some wonderful capabilities. We create killer products, but nobody knows about it. First off, if you want to just share again, like you were mentioning a couple of your posts, and then let's speak to that manufacturer and how do we get that party started?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I always tell companies is, don't talk about your product. Talk about the problem that the industry is facing and what your approach is to solve it. Right? People can relate to. Well, first of all, people relate to people. People can understand problems, and then if people understand the people and can identify what the problem is, they can then go out and try and find a product. So the big thing that I always push for is people first, problem second, your product comes third. And I really believe if you highlight that through your social media strategy, on what you're trying to do in terms of content, and then also what you're trying to do at trade shows and other events. I think that's like the big thing that I always advocate what people should be doing and how they're learning.
And when you see companies do this, they're the ones that you see really connecting with the audience, with the industry, with the people that they want to. It's because, as you said, we do business with people. You want to talk about the people in your company, how you're working together, developing people, and those kind of things. And as you work through that, you're also going to be able to show those problems and then work right down the line to what you need to after that. But it's so clear. I was looking through LinkedIn company profiles last week, and I was like, and I looked through several of them, and you can just see and feel it when they do it the right way.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's the big thing that, like with Visual Components here with them, they've been a phenomenal partner for 3 years now.
Yeah.
And watching not only they learned how I approach like that, and now they're replicating it within their own team. So now they have their own team members and subject matter experts that are really pushing out content. And now all of a sudden they're creating content that's on their own, getting thousands and thousands and thousands of views by taking this new approach on how they tell a story.
Yep. It's awesome.
Absolutely love it. So, all right, let's grab. Hey, Diane Byer says 100%. Jake, bring the new generations why manufacturing matters. Appreciate you. And then, hey, our dear friend Timothy, he's coming from across the pond, man. So,
There
my
you
favorite
go.
broadcast. Hey, guys.
Hey.
Hello, Michael. Love everybody. Timothy, thank you for joining us, my friend. I know, what is it? I think it's like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
So appreciate
Late
you
in the day.
joining. And Diane says, people are the problem solvers. People, problems, solutions. So, and what I'll tell you what Diane was preaching on Friday, we're all stronger together, right? So, Diane, thank you. Keep the comments coming. If you have any questions, let us know. Jake, you have 150 million views. Did I see that correctly? 150 million views, give or take.
Nice.
Dude, take us back. When do you remember? Was there a tipping point? When did you decide, like, hey, I'm a manufacturer, I'm like crushing it in automation? When did LinkedIn get on your radar? And when did you say, like, hey, maybe there's something here?
It's funny. I could actually go back to let's see here. Let's do this. We'll bring you in behind the scenes and the craziness that Jake has.
Under the hood. All right.
We'll go under the hood of like. So I have every post that I've ever made on LinkedIn, like categorized by color, content, links, engagements, hashtags. And so I could go back to like one of the first posts that I did right here. Let's see. So it was, we're still here. Where did everybody go? So obviously, this is when they shut things down. This is when everyone was ordered to go work from home. I threw a meme in there and said, "Oh, where did everybody go?" And we turned it into that. And then
that was your very, very first post.
That was my first post.
That's hilarious.
March 18.
And that's when the world shut down. It was like that. It was like that week, right?
Yeah. And so I don't know, half these posts probably are dead. I know LinkedIn has a horrible thing where they like to delete old posts. Yeah. So, this would have been Monday, I think. So Friday we made that post. Monday, this post came out. Yeah, here we go. So, it was one of those things. Hey, we're shutting things down. This is all we're doing. Hey, we're still doing stuff. We'll still be available for Zoom calls, phone calls, and other ways, So we made these posts, but like things started to change a little bit when then all of a sudden I went from home. I went into the shop and I raided the demo room, and I brought back just tons and tons of demos of when I was doing stuff in the automation space, and went out there and I just started telling stories and working from home. And then, it was one of those things where, I started highlighting different manufacturing videos and it was a really fun story to see how things are changing. And then like doing memes and posts. Here's another fun one that I did. Right here where I went out there and I made a beer opening robot video back in 2020. Where you had this robot.
That's awesome.
Made a beer opening. So it was one of those things where it was a lot of fun to learn like what people want to engage with. But like from that Excel sheet, I started to learn what did people like to see, what was engaging to them, what were their comments, and then all of a sudden you can look at it over time. Where hey, I had a post. My first post had 936 views, but then like okay, let's fast forward. 3 months. Now I'm averaging 2,000 to 3,000 views. Let's fast forward, 6 months, 7 months. Okay. Now I'm averaging 8,000, 9,000, views per post. And then, you hop into 2021 and 2022, and all of a sudden we're averaging 20,000, 30,000, 40,000, it varies. LinkedIn's algorithm is so weird right now where I'll get one post. I had one post last week that got 875,000 views.
Yeah.
One post.
Yeah.
Almost 1 million views. And then I'll make another post the next day that'll get like 9,000. And I'm like, what is going on here? But anyways, it's one of those things where it's a constant battle. But for me, at the end of the day, my goal when I'm creating content and how I encourage other companies is don't make content that's going to create a conversation, right? And people want to engage with. If you create a piece of content that is so like narrow-minded and focused, where you're like, I want to target like these 3 people or these 3 job titles, what's going to happen is it's not going to resonate with anybody else on the LinkedIn platform. So when LinkedIn goes out there and they blast it to the first 200 people who we're going to see on your feed and it doesn't resonate with them, they're not going to recommend your post to anyone else. I think that's what a lot of people need to realize is just because the company follows you doesn't mean LinkedIn is actually going to show you their post. How LinkedIn's algorithm currently works is so you have your post will go out to a couple hundred people. Depending on the percentage of those people, of that 200 that likes that post, they'll figure out, okay, if enough people like this post, we're going to recommend it to more. Then we'll recommend it to more. We'll recommend it to more. But if 200 people looked at that post and not one single person liked, stopped, engaged, to read it, they're not going to show it to anyone else because obviously the people that did see it didn't like it. Like that's why it's so important when you're going out there and you're creating content. You need to understand that you need to drive engagement first, educate second.
Yep. That's why I think, like your beer opening robot thing had to do really well, because when you look at some of these, you can go and people can do, you can go to Instagram, you can go YouTube, you can look at similar videos from the industry and really go, okay, what's going to stop and engage people? And then how do I go beyond that with the text and other things that are in the post?
100%. 100%.
All right, let's take it a step further, Jake. So for the manufacturer out there, you said to engage first, educate second. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say like, there's a manufacturer like something really hardcore geeky metrology, right? Like something, like, wow, we're different. Like how do you know? And the thing is, when it comes down to it, everybody's different in some capacity, right?
Yeah.
Like nobody has an unfair disadvantage or whatever. How do you help your clients kind of like what's step one to help create that engagement to kind of get things going?
Step one is we'll be asking what problem are they solving in the industry? Like that's one of the first things like I always ask, what problem are you trying to solve in the industry? Because if I'm working and I'm sitting down with a new client and they can't tell me what they're solving, there's no way we can tell a story that relates to people when they don't even identify what they want to do. I'll still have a company and say, oh, we're a new software company that's helping manufacturers be more efficient. What do they need to be more efficient at? What are they trying? What is keeping them up at night? And then how are you specifically doing that? Tell me a story on how you do that. And a lot of times these companies are out here and they're like, well, we really haven't done that yet. And I'm like, I can't, for me as an individual, I can't go out there and help you guys with promotion and drive what you're doing when you can't even give me an example of how you've done it. And I say, and a lot of times I'll go back and I'll say, do stuff, check back in with me in 6 months. Let's see where you're at, and go from there. Like the other thing, like too, is like I help companies out. If they as a company aren't even active on LinkedIn, I immediately don't do the partnership, because for me, my whole goal is to drive brand awareness and drive traction to their subject matter experts, to their leaders and to their company. If all of a sudden I'm going to create a really post that's engaging and then people will click on their company and they've posted twice in the last 6 months, people are like, what the heck is this? It's a completely lost opportunity it's like going to a trade show, but then talking to people, but then never getting any business card to follow up with them on.
Right.
It doesn't make sense. You invest thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars and didn't do anything with it.
Right. It's an empty trade booth, right? Just have enough.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
How so let me switch gears. I'm gonna how do you attack your content? Like, how do you create, like, you're so creative, you put out so much amazing content. How do you, like, what keeps your fire burning, or how did that creative juices, like, how do you keep that going?
How do I keep my creative? Well, I create my creative juices flowing by sugar-free Red Bull.
Right. There's a plug right there, right?
Yeah.
They're a sponsor of yours.
Red Bull sponsor, yeah. It's one of those things where, how do I create the creative juice going? I create the creative juice going by going to events and talking to people. Like, for me, I get the pulse on the industry by understanding what's happening. Like I said, I had 2 robots that just got picked up from my house, 45 minutes ago now. The person that picked it up is one of the biggest is a head of outreach for the engineering program for Grand Valley State University. Those are robots that are going to a university event for this week. So I talked to her. How's the co-ops doing? What are the co-op programs seeing?
Yeah.
What are manufacturers seeing? They say, well, this is good, this is bad. We're hearing this. Manufacturers are saying this. So immediately, I just got insight to, what 30 manufacturing companies who are part of the co-op program here in West Michigan, how they're doing, how they're feeling, what they're struggling with, what the pulse is, how are they in sales this year. I got all that out of a 25-minute conversation by picking up robots in my driveway. Like, so for me, when I'm going out there and how do I keep things going, it's continued conversation, asking questions. Like that for me, I know of what's happening. So like, I was at FabTech last week, walked the show for a few days, had some great networking events, talked to people. From that, I got like 15 new content ideas from just talking to people on ideas, what they're looking for. And so I go back home, I start editing, I start researching, start talking with some great people in the industry who've been around in the industry longer than I've been alive, and just continuing to push forward on new ideas.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. All right, just keep asking. So let me ask you this: you mentioned educating, you're engaging, 50 events that you're doing this year. Do you feel, are you constantly changing hats? Are you an entertainer? Are you an educator? Are you an advocate for the manufacturing? Like, who would they call?
You got to be all those things, right? You have to be where you can't just be an entertainer, because an entertainer is a short-lived thing, right? You can't.
You are entertaining. You are very entertaining, though, Jake.
Well, yeah, so you can be entertaining, but like at the same time, you can't just be an educator, right? Because we go to events and you have an economics person speak. While this information can be valuable, everyone's falling asleep 15 minutes into it because the person's speaking at a very monotone, just slide after slide after slide with just line graphs and data, right? So you need to be entertaining, you need to be educational, you need to be personable, you need to tell stories. Like, for me, the biggest value that I think I bring is, yes, I share a lot on social media, but like, I don't talk about 90% of the stuff that's happening behind the scenes when I'm going into manufacturers on a weekly basis, doing tours, having calls, having discussions, having people reach out to me for ideas and directions on who to talk with. Like, that's where my value goes behind. So when I go and I give these keynote presentations at these events, I can just bring a plethora of information where people are just like, holy cow, like what you saw, Kurt, when we were at the Industrial Marketing Summit in Austin, right? You go out there, and I had a jam-packed 45-minute session on all these LinkedIn strategies that probably, I would say, majority of the audience there had no idea existed, what LinkedIn was doing, why that matters. Even though those people's full-time jobs are social media managers, my goal is to bring that value to the industry, to make it worthwhile. So when a person sees my post, they're like, that was worth the 90 seconds I stopped to watch and read or watch a video on that post. Yeah.
All right. Going off script, then I'm going to come back. I'm going to dive into AI with you. Obviously you can't be in market. You can't be alive and not talk about AI right now. But before, again, like manufacturing, I've seen you speak multiple times. We've done events together. Dude, whether I'm trying to pump up your ego or not, you are a gifted speaker. You're engaging. When I see speakers, I'm always dissecting them from like, like how they present, how they're the content, but more like your whole demeanor on stage was just phenomenal. Was it? We were talking about it a little bit before we went live. Was it on your radar? Like, hey, I'm going to be this 50 time a year keynote speaker.
No.
Like, how does that happen?
No. I mean, it had happened through. I would talk through videos, back in 2020, on LinkedIn, just talking to a camera, recording
your basement, right?
editing it in Microsoft Windows Editor.
Yeah.
And literally ripping down a 4-inch bulb fluorescent light fixture to use as a light. Now I have multiple lights here. But for me, it was one of those things where I did that, and then people said, hey, can you come to a trade show and speak for a small session? So I went to a trade show, talked to 15, 20 people, but one person in those crowd to work for an association or something like that, saying, hey, can you talk about this and come to our association? Then from there to there to there, it just became word of mouth, where it was one of those things where it was a very organic process for me. Like, I've never gone out there to do like external marketing for me to go work with stuff. I have such a backlog on stuff right now. I'm booked halfway through 2020.
We need to clone Jake a couple more times. And so it is so, I just find your career so fascinating, and like, it wasn't intentional. Like, you're the accidental keynote speaker, which I find fascinating. Again, I'm going to go off script for a second. For our friends out there who have a job, or they're thinking maybe, hey, you know what? I wouldn't mind being an entrepreneur. Again, you were on the show in 22. You were making that transition. As a matter of fact, if I remember, like, you told Damon and I how many clients you have 2 girls, you're working full time, and like, you told us the number of clients you had that day. And I remember the number. It was a lot. I'm like, dude, do you ever sleep? But talk about the transition. So, you're a guy, you have, family responsibilities. For somebody out there, like, man, I wouldn't mind. I'd love to take that entrepreneurial leap. Was it scary, exciting? Like, what was that transition like for you?
It was the transition was exhausting, and thankfully, I was in the right, at least for what I do, industry advocates, influencers, whatever you want to call them. There really wasn't anyone out there doing it. The only person I really talked to was like Chris Lukey at the time. Like was Chris and I. Chris was running, his podcast time, Manufacturing Happy Hour, but there really wasn't, like, at least on LinkedIn, this like advocate person. So I got really lucky, I would say, being one of the first, if not really the first, to go full time with this. Maybe there's people out there. I'd love to talk with them if they were out there doing it before I was. But for me, it was a unique experience because there really wasn't a script that you could follow, right?
Mm-hmm.
You had to go to manufacturers, and they would hear about me. Then you would have the marketing person, and then management come and meet with me. Would set up a call, and management was super skeptical because for the last 30 years, his idea of marketing was with Google ads and stuff like that. But the idea of sending money to an individual to talk about a company was brand new, especially in the B2B manufacturing space. I mean, B2C influencing has been around for a decade before that, and it's massive on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. But for automation and manufacturing, it's very unique. So walking them through why that matters, why those personal stuff matter, and then at the end of the conversation, they were on board with it. And I think for me, one of the biggest things that I would say drove value for what I was doing is I had a decade of sales experience of already talking to these people. Maybe it was different people where I was talking more of marketing leadership before I was talking with engineering and operations and decision makers that way. But at the end of the day, it's I had to identify to them for helps drive solutions and why it makes sense. And for them, for me, it's been great where I really and the 3 years I've been doing this full time ish, the 5 years since I started, like I've never really done any type of external marketing. Like I've never had to go to a client and be like, work with me. Every single one has come to me, which is just great because it shows that
it works.
What I'm doing is authentic. It's engageable.
Yeah.
It's one of those things for me where at the end of the day, when people hop on a call, I hopped on an earlier one today, and I was like, yeah, so this is it. Let me know. And they're like, that's it. I'm like, yeah. If you don't see the value of why you should, your company's not ready for it yet. And so, but for me though, I don't want to work with a partner who's not excited about this new idea of trying social stuff. Like if the company's not on board and leadership's not on board, I know whatever I do is going to be under a microscope the entire time. And I'm going to have to convince, even after the contract is signed, to indicate things a certain way. And if they're not on board for that, that means what I'm trying to do just doesn't. They're not ready for it. And sometimes it's one of those things where it's either company doesn't understand it, budget's not there, their social media pages aren't there, they don't have the content that's available and ready for it. There's multiple factors, but at the end of the day, I'm very honest with companies, and I'll just say, hey, you're not. I take the money, but honestly, that's not how I work. Save the money, or try this other influencer, try this other person, spend that money, and right now you should be using those $3,000 or whatever the pricing what is out there, and say you really should just focus on building your own content strategy right now. Take that time, you'd be working with me, and go build out 3 months of content for your own platforms. You're going to get a much better ROI. Maybe you work with me on a post.
Dude, drop the mic again, if you don't mind. I'm going to grab your website again. Guys, we're here with Jake Hall, the Manufacturing Millennial. Check out Jake at his website. We've got mfgmil.com. Again, you can go to his LinkedIn, and I think on here you've got somewhere on here. Forgive me, like 82% of what's the 82% number? You know what I'm talking about? The engineers.
Oh boy, I can't remember.
You've got somewhere on here, you've got 82. Let me go over to your LinkedIn page, but you've got somewhere 82% of engineers are doing their research online.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
Big deal.
I had to figure out exactly where that's at. But yeah, I mean, the whole story is you need to realize that while I don't want to say it's the death of the salesman, people need to realize that they don't need to call a salesperson anymore to go and find a product. They have to do something.
Right.
That this next generation of engineers and designers and people in leadership, they would much rather hop on Google, hop on ChatGPT, hop on YouTube and learn and problem solve and download the CAD or whatever they need and keep moving through on the. Where I would say the older generation said, called up and said, hey, can you come in here next Thursday? I got a question on a sensor. I got a question on a camera or on a part. That's how they did things then, and we're doing different things now, and more people are active on social media than ever before.
And I want to really emphasize what you're saying, Jake. So when people reach out to you, like it's not a cold, like you're not cold calling, you're inbound marketing with your whole presence. And when people, my goodness, if people don't know Jake Hall, like they obviously, you've got hundreds, if not thousands of videos, so much content out there that they feel like they know you by the time before you can pick up the phone or have that first interaction. Don't they feel like they already know you, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Right. And that's the goal, right? The goal is to make the process of what I do as easy as possible and it's authentic. That's what I'm doing is I try to be as authentic and as real as person as possible, and that's why people engage the content. So when I'm telling a story, they see it's real, they see it's authentic.
And what you're doing, Jake, so when you're talking to your manufacturers, like you're selling a service, you're selling your expertise, your energy, everything, your education, everything that we talked about. But if the same process works, whether you're selling widgets, whether you're selling $500,000 pieces of equipment, or I'm selling $2, whatever I'm doesn't matter if it's a widget or a service, you're selling yourself.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
That's the point. All right, I want to. We'll start winding down. I want to keep you all day. AI. When I say AI, what are you hearing? What's word on the street? What's it doing for Jake Hall, for the Manufacturing Millennial? Where are you at with AI?
Yeah, I mean, AI for me is a great resource. Like when I'm going out there and I'm building infographics and education, like I'm running through a series right now highlighting all the different manufacturers in different states and doing state highlights on it. Tomorrow I'm going to have one go out on, I think, Wisconsin systems integrators and robotic manufacturers. So for me, like going out into AI, I written AI agents in ChatGPT. So when I want to do a different state, I already have all of my specifications written in the agent. And then so when I'm ready to do the next state, I just simply say, follow the sequence for the state of this. And then it will print out all the information that I need, all the specifications that I'm looking for. I mean, so AI is, you know, I'm able to do my job and as a one, individual shop because I have AI agents who are doing 7 or 8 other jobs for me.
Yeah.
On a daily basis. Like I still write my LinkedIn posts. Like that's something that I really enjoy doing is writing all of my posts and content. But AI is a great research tool because I can pull together, I can designate where I want to get the information from, I can target specific accounts, and it's one of those things where it's Google, but it's smart. And how it collects information. You still got to go back and obviously and review that stuff. You got to do your due diligence when it comes to that stuff. But if you were to hire a 1 or 2 year industry veteran in the industry and ask him to do this, ChatGPT is going to be doing what that person could be doing in seconds instead of days of information collection.
Yeah, right. Yep. It's wild. Hey, Diane has got a comment. Manufacturing industry is full of incredibly talented and creative people and innovations. In order to advocate for the industry and manufacturers, we need to highlight our industry with great enthusiasm. No one likes boring. Drop the mic, Diane. I couldn't agree more. Correct. Damon, as we start winding down, thoughts, comments, you know a little bit about LinkedIn, right?
Yeah, I've done a couple things on LinkedIn, but I really like your approach, Jake. And man, I tell you, for the companies that are waking up and really understanding how this can help them be more engaged with their people, their community, and those great customers that they're looking for, I just think it's a wonderful opportunity. And then switching into AI, when we look at that, and if we can help those people in the industry and specifically in the marketing part of it in the industry, they don't need to know nearly as much technically to be able to help them get some things going that can really make a big difference in how those companies are viewed, how many views, if that's important to them, and really more than anything, how their message to their people in the community and potential customers. It's so cool.
100%.
It's so 100%. Cool. It's so much fun.
All right, Jake, couple questions. We'll let you get on with your day because you're saving U.S. manufacturing single-handedly. What did I not ask you today? Is there anything, any tips, advice?
Man, you just crushed it, dude.
Hey, thanks, Jake. I appreciate that.
There you go, Kurt.
Rising tides lift all ships, man. When you hang out with Jake Hall. So speaking of advice, Jake, as an entrepreneur, God, did you ever think, like when you were in college as an engineer, did you ever think you'd be an entrepreneur? Did you ever see this happening?
Well, in college, I was doing business pitch competitions.
Okay, so you got it, right? You got it.
So in college, I want to say I probably did about. I paid for half my college by doing business.
Oh, did you really?
Oh wow, that's
cool.
Impressive,
dude. Yeah, you're like you were doing Shark Tank before Shark Tank, or was Shark Tank out there?
Exactly. So I went out there. I won a couple Michigan stuff. I probably got raised $35,000 in business pitch competitions for all that stuff. So we were out there rocking it, making it. So I mean, in college, I knew that I loved the idea of stuff and that's why when in college, my first job was in sales. Like I knew right away, people was the direction that I wanted to keep going in, and it's never changed in the 12 years since I graduated college for what I'm doing.
Well, it's tough when you're an introvert like yourself, right? So you got to get out of your shell a little bit.
I know, right?
And by the way, Jake, as a matter of fact, as soon we got to get going because I got my daughter's in college. I got hey, guess what? Guess what you're going to start doing to help pay for college, right? We're going you just gave me a great idea. So
love it.
What's you mentioned advice, best business advice that you've ever received and or that you would love to pass on to an entrepreneur out there? Best business advice that you feel that you've received that you would love to pass along?
There's two. Well, my first one would have been from when I was on industrial control by Mark Tinker. He was the guy that really mentored me growing up. Right when I was right out of college, he said, "Do it right, get it done." Like for him, his philosophy was, if there's something in your inbox, just do it now. Yeah. Don't wait to do it later. And so like that was one thing for me where, you know, I never went to bed with a question in my inbox that I then needed to forward off the next morning. Like for me, I probably worked more hours than you should have, or what, you know, I worked outside the hours I was being paid.
Yeah.
But I would also say, because of that work ethic, it's got me where I am today and what I do. You know, it's always that balance of, no, you shouldn't work for free. But if you're doing something in which you see is creating future value that will be carried with you as an individual, that is where it goes. So you know, get it done, you know, is one thing. And then the other one was from another one of my mentors, Steve Zamaki, back when I was at FZ, and he said, regardless of the status, communicate. And I think that was a big one for me too, was regardless of if it was good news or bad news, communication is always news. And I think I closed so many deals that way, because regardless of even if the news wasn't great, I would still call the person saying, "Hey, I don't got good news for you, but I don't want you to be thinking today, when is Jake going to call me?"
Yeah.
And I had those tough calls where I would be calling a person every morning at 8:30 and say, "Hey, not good news, but here's your news." And it sucked. Yeah. But at the end of that, though, when the next project came up, we won it, even though there's a lot to learn the long way, because he says, "I know you're going to communicate through me." And like, it's like, that's the biggest thing that people always, you know, go out there and they're afraid to communicate when it's not great. But I said, but if you communicate, people will never assume what you're thinking and what you're doing behind their back.
Yeah. Yep. I was either digging it or dropping the
mic, my friend. Drop you throwing that thing down. Damon grabbed the mic because he knew it was coming. Right?
It was coming. It came before. I should
just throw it. Yeah, I got this new. You know, if I drop it, I can't.
I'm not
dropping a new one right now. So, all right, Jake. All right. So get her done. I'm just going to summarize. Get it done. Get it done now, and communicate. Over communicate. Just communicate. Right.
Yeah. And man, if you do those two things in life, you're going to be ahead of 90% of the other people in the industry.
That's right. Okay. Last question for you, my friend. We'll let you run. You're not a baseball fan by any chance?
No,
whatsoever. Right? Just not at all.
No. Okay. No. I mean, here's the thing. We're kind of in football season now, so now I got to switch between, like, you know, my here we go.
That's right.
My Cubs hat, and then my signed Brad Holmes Detroit Lions hat. You know, so it really, you know, depending on, like, yesterday I had to wear both hats, right? Early game, Cubs, late, Lions, crushing the Bears, taking Ben Johnson, taking his lungs out, shoving it in his throat, and then making him eat it again, because that's who Ben Johnson is. Ben Johnson kicks puppies. You know. That's who I think about the Chicago Bears new coaches. He kicks puppies and steals catalytic converters from people's cars.
Man, Dane and I, like, I don't know if you have two bigger dog fanatics. If he kicks puppies, man, like sure.
That's who Ben Johnson is as an individual.
Jake, why not the Tigers? Just out of curiosity, why not the Tigers?
I like the Tigers. You know, Tigers is an American League team. So for me, it's one of those things. You know, the family and my wife's a big Chicago Cubs fans, so we're having that. But moving into Michigan, I still cheer on the Detroit Tigers. I got a Detroit Tigers hat around here somewhere because their local affiliate team, the West Michigan Whitecaps, which actually has the best record in professional baseball right now, they're a Double-A seeding team for the Detroit Tigers. So we go to plenty of Tigers games. The kids go out there. It's a great Fifth Third ballpark. LMCU. It's no longer Fifth Third. LMCU ballpark. Awesome. $2 dogs, $2 beers on Tuesday nights. We rock.
Yep. They were that. It was just, there was an article in Wall Street last week about that team, right? They're the winningest team in the United States right now.
Yeah.
It's in
West Michigan Whitecaps.
If people haven't experienced minor league baseball, they really need to. We went to a high A game this weekend too, and it's just like man, it's so much fun.
Yeah, it is. We play. I forgot. I think tomorrow night. We could win our first championship tomorrow night since 2015. Nice. So, we're ready to. I think we're gonna win. Yeah, we would win the minors Double-A Major League Baseball championship tomorrow night in Grand Rapids.
Well, congratulations!
I'm gonna see if I can get tickets to go to that game.
That is,
now that I remembered, I might take our kids to some baseball tomorrow night.
Well, that'd be awesome. And then you've got Atlanta on Wednesday. So, all right, Jake, let's do this. Let's wind down. And so, guys, please connect with Jake on LinkedIn. Do yourself a favor, follow him. As a matter of fact, we have a client who has like 26 followers, and I gave him your LinkedIn this morning. I said, connect with this guy. He'll help you get up to 100. So,
there we go.
But all right, Jake, baseball. Quick question for you. You ready? And I asked Lukey this one, so I wanted to ask you this. I don't think I asked you this last time. You ready? Yeah. Okay. Cubs are playing the dreaded St. Louis Cardinals, your Lukey Cardinals, right? So they're playing the Cardinals. It's a bottom of the ninth. It's a tied score, okay? Tied score, bottom of the ninth. There's a guy on second base for the Cubs. We've got to get that winning run in for the Cubs. You with me? The manager looks down the bench and says, "Hey, Hall."
Justin Turner.
Thank you. No, he turns on the bench and he says, "Hey, Jake Hall."
Oh, Jake Hall. Okay.
Grab your helmet, grab your bat, get up to the plate, hit in the winning run.
Yeah.
So you get off the bench, you grab your helmet, grab your bat. You're walking up to the plate to smash in that winning run, beat the dreaded Cardinals. What's your walk-up song?
What's the walk-up song? Eminem, "Lose Yourself," Mom Spaghetti. I'll be throwing up, and I'll be leaning into that plate as hard as I can to hopefully get hit by a pitch. So then the guy behind me can then get knocked something again because I will do nothing on that one. I'll be leaning into that plate as hard as I can to get whacked by a 98-mile-an-hour fastball right in the back. And then Justin Turner can come up behind me. And then
he see how selfless he is, Damon? Just pure selflessness.
We're
a team player. He'll give it to Justin Turner. So anyway, Jake, great answer. Thank you, my friend, for playing along. Dude, find Jake on LinkedIn. Find him on the website. Guys, we went for 57 minutes. If you've been sitting with us the entire time, it's a great time to stand up and stretch and give Jake a huge roaring round of applause. Jake, thank you, brother. You're just an amazing guy, great dad, two young ladies in your life. We admire you, appreciate you. Damon, closing thoughts? What do you got?
I think if you got in this late, you just need to go back to the beginning and see what Jake has to say. He is out there doing it, showing manufacturers.
You got it. All right,
Jake, thank you, brother. Appreciate you, man. All right, guys, have a great rest of your week. We'll see you soon. Hang out with us one sec, Jake.